you doing? This is Mitch from Native Survival. Tonight we're going to talk about long-term fire starting. Alright, so on my blanket here, I have 5 different ways that are common to light fires. First, we have a lighter. We have matches, ferro rod, flint steel, and primitive fire, friction. So let's go in order. So the tool that you want to use the least for a long-term fire is a lighter, because obviously once the fluid runs out, it doesn't make fire too easily anymore. Now you can still make fire with the spark from the little piece of flint that's in there, but it's very small, very delicate, usually held in by springs, and it's really definitely not what you want to use. It's not ideal. Next up, matches. Matches are fantastic because they give you an actual flame. Now all you have to do is make it bigger, right? Just like the lighter. Absolutely fantastic. Both of these are very, very, very easy to make fire with. Problem is, once again, is that once it's used up, the resource is gone. Now I carry my matches in a little waterproof bottle here, and I carry something like 180, 200 around there. But once they're used up, they're used up. So that's really not ideal for long-term fire, you know. It's not going to really get you through a winter or even multiple winters, right? You know, long-term is really just that. It's long-term. It's permanent residency in the woods. So obviously matches are not the way to go. Next up, ferro rod. No doubt about it. Can be used wet. Can be used a whole lot more times than a lighter or matches. I mean, you know, we're talking upwards of 120,000 fires if done with a single strike and you only use 1/4 of an inch. It's a lot of fire. But the problem with this is, it will run out. You don't always get it with a single strike, right? So that means those numbers are really kind of skewed. You know? You get a whole lot less fires out of this. To last the rest of your lifetime? Maybe. But what about your wife's lifetime? What about your son or daughter's lifetime? What about their kid's lifetime? Is your whole family going to pass around whenever they want to make a fire into all their different shelters, wherever it happens to be, nearby this one ferro rod for everyone's life forever? No. So that's clearly not going to do it. Next up, flint steel. Now flint steel will outlast a ferro rod all day, every day, year after year. See, it makes sparks, but it really gets worn down a whole lot less than a ferro rod does. I mean, my ferro rods look like a beaver's been chewing on them, you know? And I've only had this ferro rod a couple years. However, these I've used for the same, even longer actually. I used to use flint steel before I even bought my first ferro rod, and none of them have almost any wear at all. They just have some scrapings, you know? They look like they've been scratched. So, more fire? Yeah, you bet. Way more fire. As long as you know how to make natural char. So if you can make natural char material, whether it be out of cattail and you char it, or whether it be out of some other material, it's up to you. Whatever works in your area. But I carry char at the bottom of my tin. Here's some char cattail. Natural material that I can make again and again and again. Now, the important thing is I can make it without the tin. So, for this to work long term, I need to not have to use my tin to make the char. No big deal. I wrote an article for Self-Reliance magazine called Primitive Char Cattail. And what I did there was I took cattail and I buried it under the embers of my fire. Put my fire right over it. And I really cooked it in almost the same way as an ember blanket. And I did a video on that. You can go ahead and check that out. Basically, it's when you drag the embers over the material to char it. So by covering it with some dirt before I covered it with the embers, it excluded oxygen, which means the cattail charred, and it took a spark. So that means that this can keep going and going and going and going long after the ferro rod has died away. So far the champion is flint steel. Now rocks, not a big deal. You can use almost anything in any area. I like quartz the best because it's prolific in my area. I can walk 10 feet, pick up a piece of quartz. That's why I love it. In your area you might like flint. Who knows? Probably because it's easy to find, right? Now, lastly, the item that will far exceed this one flint steel, because again, is your whole family going to use this for the rest of your life? You know, your wife wants to make a fire and you're out hunting and you brought this with you. What, the family's going to not eat while you're away? You know, you might be gone a couple days. No, of course not. You know, this isn't the end-all be-all. That, my friends, is a friction set. Now, whether it be bow drill, hand drill, fire plow, fire saw, whatever you want to use, these kits can go and go and go for the rest of your life, the rest of your children's life, the rest of your grandchildren's life, and etc. Why? Because they can just make more kits. And the beauty of it is that your son can make a kit, and you still have your kits. So it's like having an immeasurable amount of things that normally have to be manufactured in society, and once you have them, and that's it. You know, you're not going to find, you know, wrought iron in the woods to be able to make a fire steel like this for flint steel. You know, there are things out there like pig iron. You know, iron exists, obviously. You know, it can be done, but it's going to take a whole lot longer than it is with this. Now we're talking, you know, purifying, forging, and everything else to make this. You have to make tools. I mean, crazy, right? Or this, you know, you can bang one of these out. If you have a knife, oh man, you know, hour or less. I mean, no problem at all. No problem at all. This also can be made without a knife. And by knife, I mean manufactured steel knife. These can be made with stone, obviously. Because everybody before metal knives were invented made them with stone knives. So, the winner on long-term fire making is going to be friction fire kits, absolutely, because they can just go, go, and go, and you can make new kits. Now, the thing to remember about bow drill is, for it to be a long-term option, you need to know how to make natural string for the bow. Because most people use nylon string or some other manufactured string for the bow. And obviously that's not going to work. Now, I've used maple roots to make bow drill fires for my string. There's tons of materials that can be used, depends on your area. You can even use intestines of animals. I mean, there's tons of material. You can use hides cut up into strips, all sorts of things, right? So, there's no doubt about it, bow drill can be a long-term situation. But you have to know how to make the natural cordage or it's not. Okay? So hand drill, having less parts, not needing rope, in that situation, wins out. Same thing with fire plow, fire saw, they don't need cordage. Okay, so let's discuss tinders real quick. Obviously, lighters, you know, instant flame, lighters and matches. Can be used on twigs, can be used on dead grasses, millions of things. It's already fire. Ferro rod, absolutely tons of things. Birch bark, whatever works in your area. Cedar bark, it's up to you. You know, you can even use feather sticks. However, there are some people that use these little pads. You know, they're sold by a lot of outdoor gear suppliers, and there's really no need to pay for them. You know, you can make these for pennies, no problem at all. It's just a cotton pad with some petroleum jelly smeared on it and then dipped in wax. That's all there is to it. So there's no need to buy those. But once they're gone, right? So when you're using these things, try to use a natural tinder if you can. You know, I think in my area, birch bark is by far the best for ferro rod, or for matches, or for a lighter. It just goes straight away, just lights right away, has a lot of oil in it, works fantastic. Find out whatever works in your area. Flint steel, I already described using cattail to make my char tinder. If you don't have cattail, you can use something else. You can use grasses to char. You can use charred wood from your fire. There's many things that can be used for that. And obviously, making tinder bundles with your primitive sets is the way to go. And, you know, again, dead grasses, birch bark, cedar bark, I mean, tons and tons and tons can be used for that. You know, the list goes on. Alright, that's been Native Survival. Appreciate your views, your comments, and your support. See you in the next one. Take care.